Hey do-gooders, what is an expander? Let's find out. Buckle up, time for some PFOing so you know where you're going. I'm your local orthodontist answering your questions about orthodontics and life. So, today's question, what is an expander? Well, expanders expand, but what are they and what do they expand?
Not the limbs, guys! Please do not tear the limbs!
Okay, don't worry. There will be no bodily expansion in the orthodontic profession, at least in the sense of ripping limbs.
What are we gonna do tomorrow night?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
We aren't planning on any of this type of expansion. There will be no world domination as part of the orthodontic expansion. In fact, that's probably a little bit outside the scope of orthodontic expansion.
Don't you see that bigger is better and better is bigger? A little bit is never enough.
Bigger is better and better is bigger. This can apply to two things, expanders and Texas. And you're like, well, tell us what an expander is already. So I found all of these cool pictures of expanders online. Let's start with some basic facts about what expanders are. Some people call them spacers because they make space. Expanders are appliances or things, devices, that you stick in the mouth. They can be put in the roof of your mouth and attached to the top teeth. Expanders can also be placed in the lower jaw connected to the bottom teeth. Expanders can be glued to your teeth or they can be removable, meaning that you can take them in and out of your mouth. Expanders can have metal or be all metal, or sometimes they can have acrylic as part of the entire expander. Expanders can have metal wires that rest on the teeth to help stabilize the expander. They can also have wires that go across the teeth to help the expander stay in place. Some expanders will have big metal rings. You've probably seen them before. They're called bands, not rubber bands. These are metal bands that go around your big permanent teeth, sometimes the baby teeth, baby molars, and those are used to help seat the expander and make sure it stays in place. And expanders would not be expanders without a jack screw. Usually the jack screw is located near the middle of the device, as you can see in some of those photos. It has multiple holes that when you insert a key into the hole and turn it, it twists the screw. And as you twist the screw, the expander gets farther and farther apart. So why an expander? Two common benefits. One, maybe you, your child, has a narrow upper jaw. A narrow upper jaw can lead to crossbites, and sometimes crossbites can lead to jaw shifting. You can't bite down straight. Jaw shifting over time could be bad news for your TMJs. We talked about that before. It could also lead to poor development or growth and development of your bones. So narrow upper jaw can lead to crossbites with shifting. And so an expander is going to widen the narrow upper jaw and remove the crossbite with shifting. The other common benefit is to create space. Sometimes in really crowded cases or with moderate crowded cases, you can put an expander in that pushes the teeth to the side and creates more space for other permanent teeth to come into position. Sometimes permanent canines get off course when they're coming down into your mouth, and when you create space with an expander, it can help them course correct. Okay, let's talk about the palatal expander, since it's probably the most common type of expander. This is the expander that goes in the roof of your mouth, hence the palate or the name, palatal expander. When you put it in, it can be a little hard to clean, maybe cause some irritation to the gums around it, but good brushing, rinsing, maybe a water pick, all of those can be helpful as you have a palatal expander in your mouth. So the palatal expander has been shown to have both effects on the teeth and the bone. So one of the pictures you saw up there was of an individual with a giant space in between their front teeth. Whether or not the space in between those teeth gets that big, it depends. But seeing space develop between your front teeth with a palatal expander means that your bones are expanding.
Yahoo!
Yahoo! Still talking about the palatal expander, depending on the age, you may be instructed by your provider to turn the jack screw 1 time per day, maybe 2 times per day, or some other regiment of turning. Be sure to pay attention because you want to try and follow exactly what they say. We don't want to mess things up.
Which button is the button you're supposed to push? Point to it. No!
Okay, seriously though, Some parents get really nervous about how to do the turns, right? And probably feel like they're gonna blow their kid up by pushing the wrong button. But just ask the questions. Your orthodontist or his assistant, his or her assistants, will help you know how to turn the device, and if you have any questions, you can always call. Once the expansion is complete, the orthodontist will tell you, the expander stays in the mouth for at least 3 to 4 months. And that's because we're trying to help body stabilize in the new expanded position. Okay, that's the top expander, the palatal expander. Now let's talk about a bottom expander. For the bottom expander, you can use a glued one or a removable one, just like the top. In fact, the design of the bottom expander can be similar to the top one. There will be a jack screw, there will be metal pieces, there'll be rings maybe that hold on, or it'll be removable. One key difference is that the lower expander does not have the same effects on the lower jaw as the top expander has on the top jaw. Most of the changes we see with the lower expander is movement of the teeth. It's an alternative approach to putting braces on all of the baby teeth. If you're doing treatment at that age, it helps things to get wider, more space for permanent teeth to come in. And not every single orthodontist subscribes to the idea of using a top or bottom expander, but depending on which provider you seek out, an expander on top and or on bottom may be part of your treatment recommendation. Finally, as part of the lower expander, you may notice that the frequency of turns is not as much as the top expander. Again, depending on your needs, you can visit with your local orthodontist to understand if an upper and or lower expander would be beneficial to you. Okay, here's a few thoughts on expansion later in life. Is it possible to expand the upper and lower jaws down the road? Short and sweet, yes it is, but it's not that simple. Our top jaw really stops getting wider in a significant way by the time we finish adolescence.
Is she having adolescence?
This means that it requires more force to push open the jaw, top jaw, when we're older as compared to when we are pre-adolescent. Like I said, it's still possible. So 2 ways to do this. One is by building an expander that you can fit onto mini screws placed in the roof of your mouth. These mini screws go into your bone and allow the expander to push against the bone directly when we push it to the side, when we expand, versus just pushing from the teeth. This allows you to apply way more pressure so that even though in an older patient the bones might be really fused, greater pressure can be applied to the bone through the expander and the mini screws in order to get the separation that we hope for. The second option is a surgically assisted rapid palatal expansion. That means that you're going to see an oral surgeon. They're going to do some special cuts on your top bones, and then you put an expander in there and you crank that thing and boom, it's opening wide. And of course, the lower jaw is just a beast, a completely different animal. And pretty much, if you want to expand that jaw, which doesn't happen very often, surgery is essentially the only option. So, in summary, expanders are a common appliance used in orthodontic treatment, particularly to help with narrow upper jaws, shifting, and to create space. Very predictable times to use the expanders are when we are younger, before we go through puberty. But as I said, it's not that we can't do expansion later. The predictability of the outcome with traditional upper expander, lower expander, that predictability goes down as we get older and older because our jaws get more mature. And so that limits our options to things like mini implant assisted expansion or surgery. If you're anxious to find out if expanders are a good choice for you, find your local orthodontist. All right, do-gooders, today I want to talk about respect. Respect can refer to the regard given to thoughts, ideas, feelings, wishes, traditions, rights of others. General rule of thumb for do-gooders is that you respect everybody. Treat everyone with respect. Now, this doesn't mean that you agree with everyone or their different ideas and thoughts and feelings, but you treat them with kindness in your differences. Here are some important things and people that I think deserve respect. Number 1, God. Number 2, parents deserve respect from their children. Number 3, children deserve respect from their parents. 4, boys should definitely respect girls. 5, if you're an American, then you respect the American or the US Constitution. And I think this one's important too. Local law enforcement and first responders. Besides God, all those individuals and things that I listed have imperfections. Parents aren't perfect, kids aren't perfect, the US Constitution isn't perfect. Law enforcement, first responders, I mean, that it applies to everybody. Everybody is not perfect. Things are not perfect. Regardless, do-gooders should recognize the importance of showing proper respect. Showing the respect that is needed will increase civility in our communities. Showing respect to parents and children will increase peace and love that we can feel at home and in our families. Showing respect will strengthen our relationships, and respect will increase the safety and protect the freedoms that we enjoy. All right, do-gooders, go out there, be respectful, live a good life. That's all I've got. Drink it up, just a little PFOing so you know where you're going. Packard out.